Before we begin today's sermon, let us all take a moment to remind ourselves how extremely fortunate we are to be in receipt of the Buddha's teaching, to consider him our teacher, to have him as our master, to guide us, to show us the path, to instruct us from start throughout the journey and until the end. It is none other than the Perfect One, the Awakened One, the Supremely Enlightened One, the Omniscient One, the Magnificent One, the Undefeated One, the Perfect One that we speak of. So before we begin today's sermon, let us take a moment to pledge our allegiance to the Buddha. And this pledge of allegiance is to accept him as our teacher. It is a vow, a solemn oath that we take upon ourselves for no other reason than having seen the Dhamma, having understood the truth, having realized that there is no other refuge to be taken, to be sought, than the Buddha, the Dhamma and the Sangha. To he who proclaimed the Dhamma, to he who showed us the path, to he who made it all visible and clear amidst the fog of delusion, let us make reverence and reminding ourselves of his greatness and how fortunate we are to be his disciples. Let us recite the Dhirasa Vigata Mohasa Gathas, followed by which we will seek refuge in the Noble Triple Gem, observe the precepts, and begin today's sermon. Dhirassa vigata mohassa pabhinna khilassa vijita vijayassa anighassa susama chittassa buddha silassa sadhu panyassa vessantarassa vimalassa bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi akatankatissa tusitassa vantalokamissassa muditassa katasamanassa manujassa antima sarirassa narassa anopamassa virajassa bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi akatankatissa tusitassa vantalokamissassa muditassa katasamanassa manujassa antima sarirassa narassa anopamassa virajassa bhagavato tassa savako hamasmi. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. To observe the precepts, please repeat all together and after me. Buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Dutiyampi sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi buddhaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi dhammaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Tatiyampi sanghaṃ saraṇaṃ gacchāmi. Saranagamaṇaṃ sampunnaṃ. Anatipātā veramani sikkhapada samadhiyāmi. Adinnādāna veramani sikkhapada samadhiyāmi. Kāmesu micchāchārā veramani sikkhapada samadhiyāmi. Musāvādā veramani sikkhapada samadhiyāmi. Suramēraya majjapamā daṭṭhānā veramani sikkhapada samadhiyāmi. Tisaranena saddhiṃ pañcasīlaṃ dhammaṃ sādhukaṃ surakkitaṃ kattvā appamādena sampādeta. Okay, you may all now be seated. Also before we begin today's sermon, let us all remind ourselves that where we are today is the result of not only ourselves but also those countless beings who have helped bring us here. Those who have shaped our lives for the better or for worse, whatever their intentions were, the result is that we find ourselves here with the Dhamma, with the opportunity to redeem ourselves from suffering once and for all. And among those who came and went from our lives will be those who might have helped us, supported us, assisted us, as well as those who we may have wronged. And perhaps among them will be those who are looking for an opportunity to bring us harm and discomfort. However, reminding ourselves that the results that come our way are purely the results of our own actions. Let us take an opportunity, let us take this moment where we are afforded this opportunity to invite all those beings, each and every one of them, as far as the 10,000 world systems, those who may have come into our lives at whatever junction and helped shape our lives and assisted us, supported us, did whatever they could in their capacity. Let us make use of this opportunity to extend to them the gift that excels all gifts, and that is the gift of Dhamma. Let us invite them to join us and witness this meritorious deed as it unfolds. Among them will be those who are in need of merits. May they witness this meritorious deed, acquire merits, and may such merits help them to redeem themselves from the woeful states that they may today find themselves in. And for any beings in the blissful plane, may they listen to the teaching of the Buddha, understand and comprehend it, and may this understanding help them to redeem themselves from the shackles of samsara. So, with compassion and gratitude filled in your hearts, let us take a moment to invite them, as I now make this invitation to the Devas, Brahmas, spirits, demons, and those who have predeceased us. I ask you to extend that invitation in your hearts and in your minds out to them. Invite them to join us, to witness this meritorious deed, to acquire merits. Invite them to listen to the teaching of the Buddha, to understand it, to comprehend it, and invite them to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Samanta Chakravalesu Atra Gachantu Devata Saddhammang Munirajassa Sunantu Sagga Mokkadam Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta Dhammasavana Kalo Ayang Bhadanta. And also, before we begin, let us all take a moment to remind ourselves that although today we find ourselves disciplined, generous, kind, and humble in this long journey in samsara, where we were often, more times than not, in the association of ignoble, immoral ones, who defiled our minds with raga, dvesha and moha, desire, aversion and delusion. Seldom were we as good we may be today. Our minds might have been filled with hatred, anger, desire, and so on. And therefore, our actions towards the noble ones, our words and our thoughts of revile and desecration will often have slandered them and insulted them. The consequences of such actions may be that today, as we make efforts to achieve our salvation, to bring peace and calmness to our minds, that becomes incredibly difficult. So before we commence today's sermon, let us all take a moment to seek forgiveness from the noble ones, from the noble triple gem, the Samma Sambuddhas, Pacceka Buddhas, Arahata Buddhas, Anagami, Sakrodagami, Sotapannas, be they on the path of having attained the fruits, as well as the Buddha's ministry, the Sambuddha Shasana, for any thoughts, words or actions of revile, desecration, slander or insult we might have directed towards them. And as you do so, I urge you to make a promise to yourself to never find yourself in that situation, to never find the association of ignoble, immoral people, whereby you may fall back into the same trap, and the achievement of Nibbana becomes an almost impossible task. So, let us all take a moment to seek the forgiveness of the noble ones before we commence the sermon. And let us now make a firm resolve, made through the course of this sermon. If there are gaps which yet remain to be fulfilled in your knowledge and understanding of the Dhamma, to help you achieve the state of Sotapanna, may through the course of this sermon you be able to do so. And if there are any among you who have already achieved the state of Sotapanna, may through the course of this sermon you be able to fulfill the subsequent stages, and may we all be able to attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. With that firm resolve in mind, I invite you all to prepare yourselves to listen to this sermon. Okay. Assuming you're all regular listeners, I think it will suffice to say just the one word: distractions. Because this is your time, your moment. This is the time where your merits that you may have done throughout the course of the week come to your refuge, come to your rescue to help you to achieve your liberation. So over the course of the last week, several comments, questions came through from all of you, really, most of you, which indicates to me that you do go back and listen to the sermons, and you are trying to make sense of all of this, which is incredibly commendable, because what matters, victory, is not in avoiding failures, because failures simply cannot be avoided, and they shouldn't be avoided. Failures are an opportunity to learn. We learn from our mistakes. It's something we have all come across, something that we've all talked about at various points in our lives. Failures are not something to be actively avoided, but they are things to be embraced. For the wise and the clever, intelligent, failures present to where you may struggle to make sense of it all, in itself indicates that you are a good student. A good student makes effort for their own salvation. Someone who has a vested interest in their own salvation, in their own happiness, is a good student. One who does not care much about themselves cannot be a good student. So when you are a good student, a teacher naturally appears. So when you have those questions, then please do direct them through the various channels and means available to you. We also have an email address which you think you will be aware of. Details of that you will find on our website and YouTube channel and so on. But what matters is that you make an effort to go back and digest the content of these sermons, because after all, the reason that these sermons are delivered to you, and I believe firmly that the reasons you come along or tune in to these sermons is not because we have sermons going on. There are lots of things going on out there. You could go and pick and choose any one of them. But the reason you may have decided that the sermon is what you want to be listening to today, right now, is because you believe that this shows you the path to your salvation. See how much worldly beings out there, men, women, children, of all ages, races, complexions, walks of life, struggle to achieve the one thing that they have come into this earth, come into life to achieve. The one thing that they're all looking for is the one thing that always keeps evading them and escaping them. That's quite pitiful. The Buddha's teaching is here to show us how we can achieve that one thing that we have all come looking for. You know, I'm talking about happiness. But you also know by now that the happiness I refer to is not the same happiness that you experienced as you lapped up the strawberry ice cream cone, or the last time you watched sport on television, or the last time you went to a park, or the last time you went to a gig or watched a movie. You know, this is not what I'm talking about. I think part of the problem is people haven't really understood the difference between suffering that is to be experienced. Sentient beings, they will continue to think along these lines. What lines? These sermons are available to help you achieve happiness. But when someone already thinks that they have happiness to hand, why would they want to come and listen to a sermon? Just think about the way you lived your lives. And most of you still live your lives. If you just look back to yesterday, the week before, what sort of things did you do over the course of the week, over the course of the day, to achieve happiness? Happiness did you not seek through your five senses. These were the gates, the doors that flooded happiness into your mind, were they not? Was that not your experience? How can I tell you that your experience is false? This is the thing. This is the paradigm shift that one needs to make. This is where merits is incredibly essential, where the association of a Kalyana Mitra is essential, absolutely essential, because it requires a change of perspective. It's almost like moving from one world to another. The dimensions of one world are completely different in the other world. That which is pleasurable is vexatious. That which is vexatious is pleasurable. It's worlds apart, the opposites. So it takes a real effort, it takes real courage, it takes real intelligence to make that jump, to make that shift. It's a paradigm shift. The way you see the world needs to change. As I say, If you think about the things that you, or perhaps your family, or perhaps your friends, your colleagues, as you watch TV, you see what people do. You read a newspaper, what do people do? You go and browse the internet, various social websites, what do people do? The things that they do to keep themselves happy. They'll post pictures of them. They'll ask you to comment on them. They'll ask you to give them a thumbs up or a like. They'll ask you to encourage them. They seek your commendations and recommendations. If only you stepped outside your home and you walk down the street and you look either side of the road, you can get a glimpse of all the things that people think they ought to be doing to keep themselves happy. You see the restaurant over on the left hand side. What do they serve? Mongolian, Japanese, Chinese, Indian? Indeed, that's what people do to keep themselves happy. Look over on the other side. There's a cafe. They have espressos, cappuccinos, macchiatos. That's what people do to keep themselves happy. A little further down the street, what else do you see? There's a barber. He's got pictures of the creations that he can make on people's heads. Pictures on the window. You see a guy walking in with his hair disheveled, untidy, and he walks out. Smart looking, very impressed with his own hair. Unfortunately, he has to walk in front of a mirror to see it. But because everyone else can see it, and because of the comments that he gets, he's very impressed by it. Then look over on the other side. What else do you see on the street? The things that people do to keep themselves happy. There's a pub. What do they sell there? They sell poison in bottles. What else do they sell there? They give you the opportunity to gamble. They have casinos. And behind those special corridors, which are only allowed to special members, VIP members, ungodly things happen. They can't be spoken about. They happen behind closed curtains, closed doors, in dimly lit rooms. Those things must not be spoken about. But it's what people do to keep themselves happy. Can you see how much the world has gone mad? Does anyone walk out of any of those boutiques, any of those shops, truly happy? Why does a man have to be made happy twice? Does that not indicate that the first time round he wasn't satisfied? He wasn't fulfilled? People are trying to satiate the unsatiable. People are trying to fulfill the unfulfillable. People are trying to make complete that which cannot be made complete. And therefore, for as long as people are not prepared to change their perspectives, to look elsewhere for answers, to seek the association of noble ones, the world will always be in agony. I know this sounds a dim picture, sounds very grim, but unfortunately that is the truth. Behind every smile, there's a weep, there's a cry, there's a lamentation. Do you not see that now in people's faces? If you have been closely following these sermons, listening to the Dhamma and practicing it, as you walk along the road and you see people holding hands, walking their dogs, biting on a snack that they just bought from the deli, those smiles are really fakes. They're all fake smiles. They're all masks. Even they don't know they're wearing a mask. That is the pity of it. And as you keep walking down the road, just look at all the shops that are on either side of the road. You'll find all sorts of places. One will say, "We do weddings." The other will say, "Oh really? We do funerals." So the same man will one day cross the road left, and a few years later, on his behalf, someone will have to cross the road right. Just take a walk once in a while and really allow these words to sink in. If you are one of those people who like to listen to the sermons as you take a stroll along the road or just take a walk, right, do so. Put your headset on, turn on the sermon, and then as you walk down the street, just observe what's going on. You might have to wait until the corona thing's over, but still. They're all fake smiles. And the saddest part of that is the next one that you see on that comes into this world, whoever that is, does not realize that the smile that they see on all the faces is a fake smile. Because the one who wears the smile does not know it's a fake smile either. They think that which made them smile has to be the purpose of their lives. Then a little further down the road you'll see a travel operator. They'll sell you holidays. They'll have a list of all the places you can go, the top hotspot destinations to visit. But little do people stop to wonder or to ask themselves the question, why do I need a holiday? But it's no surprise, because all day long you just kept walking down the road, stopping at every shop, because each of those had some need or was able to fulfill one of your needs, one of your wants. And by the time you walk down to the holiday shop, the travel operators, you're fatigued, you're tired, and you need some cheering up. On the other hand side, can you see the record bar? What do they do there? They sell you music. Walk up to the store and see what they've got. They'll have music from all parts of the world. What does that tell you? All around the world, people need music to be happy. And not just music, now they have lots of different types of music. What does that tell you again? Yeah, these are the questions that you need to be asking yourself, folks. Don't stop at what meets the eye. Go further, go deeper. Because you can. That is why you are human. The only gift that humans have is the gift of intelligence, the power to think. If we don't use that, are we any better than animals? I mean, that is the one thing that sets us apart from other animals, is it not? Birds can fly, we can't. Fish can swim, we can't. Earthworms can go underground, we can't. Cheetahs can run super fast, we can't. Horses can gallop, and we can't. Elephants can pull large trunks and massive objects, we can't. Ants can creep through the tiniest of crevices and get anywhere, no matter how much you try and stop them. We can't. So the only gift that we have is the gift of intelligence, the power to think, the power to see or look at more than what meets the eye. We mustn't stop at what meets the eye. That would be very foolish. That would be undermining the power of intelligence. You must not be like that. I ask you, every time you walk out, every time you go out, perhaps it's your commute to work, observe what's going on around you, and you will learn a lot about yourself. Next time you walk into the supermarket, how many different aisles do they have? How many different types of bread do they have? How many different types of milk do they stock? How many different types of fruit and vegetables? How many different types of spaghetti do they have? How many different types of meats do they have? Why all this? How many different types of biscuit do they have? How many different types of tea do they have? Why all this? Why all this? And why all this? You must stop and question your very existence. Because these are the questions that are worth asking. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago. The questions that people seem to be asking today are very silly. They're very silly questions. The questions that people used to ask, they're very intelligent questions. And therefore to think that the human race has advanced, that's like putting lipstick on a pig. You must not be like that. Stop and think. Why are we doing all these things that we are doing? What is the meaning of all these things? Why so much variety? Why so much difference? Why does everything have to be different? A 15, 20, 30-minute walk, stroll down the road, down the street, will give you a lot to think about. I promise you. Put this sermon on your headset and start walking. You'll have a lot to think about. Next time you walk into the supermarket, if you can't put your headset on and listen to the sermon, at least listen to the sermon before you walk into the supermarket. Just step outside and see the number of different vehicles that pass by you. How many different types of vehicles do we have? How many different types of cars and bicycles and vans and lorries? Do you not see how people are trying to fulfill the unfulfillable? How people are trying to satisfy the unsatisfiable? How people are trying to complete the incompletable? That is why we have more things today than we used to. It's a very materialistic world, you'll say. Sometimes you'll mock and laugh about it. You'll say, look at people, look at all these people, they're so materialistic now. You'll talk about them in a very undermining way, but then as you do so, just take a 180-degree turn around and look at your living room. You say everyone else is materialistic. How about yourself? Look at all the ornaments you have at home. Look at all the variety you have at home. Look at all the things you have in your showcase, in your cabinet. Can you see how complex we have made things for ourselves? In every avenue, every walk of life, every little nook and corner, there's complexity. I'm not saying this is either right or wrong. I just want you to think about this. I want you to think about this. Sri Lanka is a very small country, right? In perspective. Now, how many ministries do we have? Do you see how complex we have made our lives? How many authorities do we have? As I said, I'm not saying whether this is right or wrong. I just want you to think about the salient points, the salient points that need you to give some thought. Can you see how we have made our lives so extremely complicated? All of this is because, folks, people are looking for the one thing, just they're going about it the wrong way. And the more you keep going, the more complicated it's going to get. If you know as much as I do about ignorance and attachment, then you will agree with me that we still don't have enough ministries in our country. We need more. We need more authorities, we need more officers. It would be better if you could have 10 presidents and 10 prime ministers and 10 cabinets. Because people's needs and wants are so diverse and so complicated. Not realizing that ignorance and attachment are at the root of all of this. People are just happily walking down the street, going into the shops, getting themselves hairdressed, filling their tummies, trying to satisfy their tongues and the rest of their bodies, and life goes on. It's a maze. When was the last time you slept happy? Have you ever? You close your eyes when you've been fatigued. When you say that's enough for one day. Isn't that right? That's enough for one day. I can't take no more. I've had enough for one day. Have you not had such days? Well, guess what? Every day is such a day. Enough for one day. Can't take any more. How can a man do more than this? And yet you wake up the following morning and it's back to the rat race. Same old, same old. Same story, different day. That's all it is. I'm not saying it's all doom and gloom. I'm saying I want you all to take a moment to think. Apply the concepts that you have learned. Apply the Dhamma that you have learned. That's not to heal the world, that's to heal yourself. Because if you don't do so, then slowly, gradually, and eventually, you will be indoctrinated. Think for a moment about the life you spend versus the life that your parents did, and your grandparents, and then your great-grandparents, if you know anything about them. Along with the generations, have lives not become more complicated? So with every generation, as lives become complicated, what's stopping you? What makes you think that in the next 20, 30, 40 years that you have to live, they won't become even more complicated? And the lives of your offspring will become even more complicated, and then even more complicated. Tell me then, will there not be a day when we have 10 presidents in this country? The root of the problem is hidden. That's all behind the veil of delusion. That's hidden from plain sight. No one talks about that stuff. And then when someone does, they get told off. They get asked to shut up. They get told you're talking nonsense. What do you mean attachment is the cause of suffering? Can't you see how happily I am with my family? Attachment is what brought me happiness. Can you not see that? How can you say that a wife does not bring you happiness, Venerable Sir, when you don't have a wife? Would be some of the things that they'll tell us. How can you say that a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, a Mercedes does not bring happiness, Venerable Sir, when you don't have one? Would be some of the things that will run through the minds of such people. I tell you folks, it matters not whether one is a monk or a lay person. Indoctrination can happen both ways. I won't be surprised if one day I see a monk driving in a Lamborghini. Wouldn't be surprised. That day is yet to come, but it will come. A monk driving down Gold Road in a Ferrari, Can you imagine that? Matching colors, isn't it? Indoctrination can happen both ways. That is how fierce and that is how wicked ignorance and attachment are. You know, if anything, you should take a lesson out of the book of ignorance and attachment. Whatever books they read, you got to read. You got to read them. Whatever lessons they take, you got to take them. Because they just don't give up, do they? If you want to learn how to be courageous, if you want to learn how to be deterministic, if you want to learn how to be strong and fierce and be resilient, take a lesson from ignorance and attachment. How long have you been fighting them? Have they given up? There are days when you give up, but do they? There are days when you feel like, oh God, that's enough, I can't do this anymore. Do they? I'm telling you to learn those tactics from your enemies. Sometimes it's not friends that teach you the best of lessons. Your enemies do. As I said, failures are something to be embraced. You can learn from them. Look at the various facets of ignorance and attachment. Look at all the things that they're capable of. This pair, when they get together, they wreak havoc. From pandemics to world wars. From the common cold to the cold wars. Ultimately, if you look at who's responsible, if you go looking deep, you'll find ignorance and attachment. Because they think they're invincible. They're the invincible duo. They are, until the perfect one comes along. The only one who is capable of standing up against them. You know, 8 billion people versus ignorance and attachment. Who won? An infinite number of devas and brahmas plus 8 billion people. Who won? I say versus ignorance and attachment, who won? Can you see how invincible they are? Next time you watch a teledrama, yes, I know you still do. It's okay, it's okay. I'm saying, I didn't say switch off the television. Next time you watch your teledrama, try and be the observer. Because if you are not the observer, then the thing is someone's observing you. I mean, don't they really? The whole world is standing around observing you. Which buttons need to be pressed? What sort of things make you vex? What sort of things make you cry? What sort of things can put a smile on your face? They're learning. They're constantly learning about you. The teledrama is the same. Because with every teledrama, with every TV program, at the end of it, or somewhere along the lines, they'll do a review. They'll look at ratings. What sort of people? What's the demographic? What kind of people enjoyed this? If not, why do they play certain types of advertisements alongside certain types of teledramas, and other types of advertisements alongside other types of teledramas? Is that not because they're observing you? I'm saying, why don't you switch roles for a moment and you start to observe what's going on out there? Can you see how ignorance and attachment are making these innocent people dance around like puppets? You try and visualize ignorance and attachment are kind of always standing by your side, observing you, and looking at all the things that you're doing at your expense, how they continue to foster themselves. There's a world famous book, right, called The Art of War. I'm telling you, that can be rewritten. If only you studied the war tactics, the dirty war tactics of ignorance and attachment. Do you know that some people can be tickled to death? You've all been tickled, but of course none of you have been tickled to death yet. But you can be tickled to death. That's exactly what ignorance and attachment are doing to you. Because ultimately, at your expense, they just want to foster themselves. They want to prosper at your expense. But you're not going to be playing ball with them if there's only suffering. There is only suffering, but they will make it seem like there's joy and happiness, and they'll do that by tickling you. I mean, the laugh that comes with the tickle is not real, right? It's not a true one. It's not genuine. That's why you can't tickle yourself. So clearly there's a mental aspect to it, right? You can't tickle yourself. That's impossible. So it's only someone else that can tickle you, and you can be tickled to death. So if the laughter that comes when being tickled is genuine, then surely you should be able to do that to yourself and still be laughing. But that doesn't happen, so clearly there's something else that's going on. It's an illusion. Because when you're being tickled, there's a discomfort and there's also a joy alongside that. That's why you say stop, stop, stop. But you say that while you're laughing. Can you see the analogy there? Do you enjoy being tickled? If you say yes, then I ask you, why do you say stop? If you say no, then I ask you, why are you laughing? I'm doing something to you don't like and you're laughing? I'm doing something to you that you like and you're saying stop? That makes no sense. That's exactly what ignorance and attachment are doing to you. They're tickling you to death. So you don't know which one. Do I want them to stop or do I want them to continue? I'm not sure. Because there's discomfort and then there's laughter and joy at the same time. So it's a very awkward experience, that isn't it? When you're being tickled. It's probably the one experience which is very difficult to be answered or analyzed, explained. You can't tickle yourself. Have you ever tried that? No, don't try that now. Oh, listen to the sermon. Try it after the sermon. You can't tickle yourself. But someone next to you, they don't even need to tickle you. As they approach you, and you can see that what they're going to be doing is tickling you, that is enough to bring that sense of discomfort. But it will also put a smile on your face. Can you see the confusion there? The pain and the joy that complement each other. That's what ignorance and attachment are doing. Anyone who's experienced who's got the experience of being tickled is one who will try and tickle someone else. If you knew that it was a bad thing to do, if it shouldn't be done, if it's only painful, you wouldn't do it to anybody. Just like you wouldn't just go slapping people randomly, right? So you only do it to your loved ones, to your friends, right? Because you see the smile, you see the laughter that comes through it, through that experience. But you also know that the moment you start doing it, they'll start throwing their arms, and they'll start kicking you away and say, stop, stop, stop. So the fact that you want to do it to somebody else, but you don't want it done to you, there's some perplexity there. Ignorance and attachment are like that. They'll tickle you to death. And because you're laughing, you somehow like that experience. You want that to continue, but at the same time you'll say stop, stop, stop. But you still want them to continue. It's a very weird one. That's the tickle of death, courtesy of ignorance and attachment. Apply this into life's experiences. Ignorance and attachment will vex you. And then what happens? You'll somehow go through the through making effort to achieving that which you are vexed for now. And then, once having achieved it, you will feel the relief from vexation, and now you're laughing. But do you want to suffer? Oh, no. But do you want to laugh? Oh, yeah. You see? That's the tickle of death. Because they'll keep doing it until you die. And the tickles get harder and stronger and faster, and then you can't even bear the laughter now. Some people can even faint and collapse. As I said, it can happen both ways. In the time of the Buddha, there was one monk who had tickled another monk, and believe me, he passed away. And the monk who tickled had to go and ask the Buddha, because he was now suspicious. Had he caused the death of the other person? Manslaughter. So he went and asked the Buddha, and the Buddha said, "Did you have any intentions of killing the other man, the other monk?" He said, "No, Venerable Sir, I had no such intentions at all, I swear." At which point the Buddha said, "Okay, so no offense has been done, certainly not the offense of manslaughter, but here on, from today on, I decree that there is a new item of discipline, a vinaya, that from henceforth no monk shall tickle another man, woman, or any other being for that matter." So tickling is prohibited. In the Shasana. Now you can do what you like at home. It's the same story, folks. Wherever you look, ignorance and attachment, they give you the tickle of death. Just look at everything that happened to you up until now. Any moment in life where you experienced joy. What came before that? Suffering, vexation. Right, so that's the discomfort that comes with the physical touch. And then what happened? You needed to make effort to go and achieve it, to acquire it. Acquiring what you desire. So you acquired what you desired, and then you were relieved from your vexation, and then you laughed. Pleasure. That is very much like being tickled. There's discomfort on one side, and then there's laughter on the other. You don't know what to do now. Do you stop or do you continue? Imagine that if there was an alien that came onto this earth, and they don't know what tickling is, but they'll just touch you somewhere, and now you feel ticklish, and now you're saying stop, but you're laughing at the same time. This guy read the human manual, and in there it said, when someone says stop, that's because they're feeling uncomfortable about something. But if someone's laughing, it means they're really enjoying that experience. Now, what's the poor guy supposed to do? That's what ignorance and attachment are like. They'll make you suffer even without you knowing you're suffering. That's how wicked they are. They'll give you pain in delightful doses. That's how wicked they are. They make you suffer and make you think that you're enjoying it at the same time. That's how wicked they are. That's how wicked they are. What I want you to do, folks, is to observe these things. This happens around you all day long. All you need to do is to stop and think. Observe these things. Through the Dhamma, observe these things. See how many fake smiles you can spot in the course of a day. When you get to work, the next day you do, next time you go to work, from the moment you set out, you walk down the street, see how many fake smiles you can spot. One guy will be on the phone and he'll be laughing. The other guy will be eating something and he'll be laughing. He'll be smiling. He'll look that he's very pleased with himself. The other guy will be walking out the bank, counting his money, looking very impressed with himself. Can you see all these fake smiles? Can you see how, these are toys that ignorance and attachment have given people to play with? Like money. Here, play with this, little one, and keep yourself happy. What are some of the toys that ignorance and attachment have given you and people you know? They come in all shapes and sizes. They come in all colors. This is a massive playground. What is the name of the biggest playground you know? It's called Earth. Look at all the toys that ignorance and attachment have given people. Cars. These are all toys. So when someone opens the door, gets in, closes the door, they feel really chuffed about themselves, don't they? Of course, when you give a kid a toy, of course they feel very happy about it. Every shop that we talked about earlier, that's a toy shop. You might as well name Earth Toys R Us. So that any aliens that keep, those UFO thingies that keep flying by, if they want to have a little game, want to take a little break, play something, they can stop at Toys R Us. It's not just the bats and the balls. You think they're toys? You think they're the only things that are toys? What about the things that you own as an adult? Your house, not a toy? Have you never felt this way when you played Monopoly? Understand, folks, this is all a joke. Ignorance and attachment are laughing at your expense. You're playing with toys. Oh. What about that phone you have in your hand? Not a toy? As I said, they come in all shapes and sizes. Your car, your watch. Some people have lots of cars. So those are like, really unruly kids. Little children, they're very troublesome. So they need lots of toys to be kept happy with. So they get given lots of toys. A kid's a kid, right? So needed toys. So toys. Some toys are more expensive than others. But again, the money, that's also play money. This is an arena, and we're all playing in it, with lots of toys to keep us busy. Open your eyes and look at just try and understand what's happened to you, folks. This is what I'm asking you to do. This is not just a lovely story. This is not just a, here's what happened to mankind. Here's what happened to you kind. All the ornaments you have at home, these are all toys you've been given to play with. Everything, every little thing. Because everything that you think makes you happy, that's a toy that's been given to you because you're just a kid. Kid. You don't like it when someone calls you a kid, right? But it's okay to behave like one? Kid? It's okay to play with your toys all day long and then you don't like to be called a kid? When someone becomes an Arahatun Vahanse, the Tathagatan Vahanse says, you are now my child. Okay, whose child was he up until then? That's what the Buddha says, you are now my child. You got to think then, whose child was that man, woman or child until then? Mara's children. So Mara is a good father. What does Mara do? He gives his children toys. Look at all the toys that you play with. What did you play with yesterday? Or shall I ask, what did you play with yesterday, Puta? I'm not talking to the young kids, Go open your wardrobe and see how many toys you've got in there. Oh, they're branded ones, aren't they? Good, good. Open the drawer. Look at what toys you have in there. Which one? The Rolex? Yeah, that's another toy, yeah. The Armani? Yeah, that's another toy. Yeah, they're all toys. Makes you happy, does it not? Oh, of course, then it's a toy. If something makes you happy, that's your toy. Oh. Come in all sizes. Well, your toy room is the kitchen. Okay, let's go in there then. What do you have in there? What toys do you have in there? The blender? No, nice. A string hopper maker. Oh, beautiful. Nice toy. Nice toys you've got there. What about this ornament? That's another toy, is it not? Yeah, nice one. Oh, how happy you are when you look at it. Oh. Kid. Would you excuse me for a moment? I need to go with the other children in the house. I think the one that you call husband. Oh, that's another toy, is it? No? What makes you happy though, does it not? Does he not? It's a toy. You'd like me to get into your car? But that toy? You're going to take me on a tour inside your toy? Are you getting the gist? Stop being a kid and grow up. I mean, how old are you, for heaven's sake? You still enjoy your toys? Grow up. Those things make you happy still? They're toys. If you got toys, that makes you a kid. Only kids got toys. That's why those who are no longer kids, they don't come into Toys R Us anymore. They don't walk into this store. They went forever, never to come back. When are you going to grow up? Just hitting the age of 18 did not make you an adult. You're just a big kid. But when you got your license, no, you're still just a big kid that drives a big toy around. When you bought your house, no. You're just a big kid that lives in a playpen. It's just big. If you don't, while you're here, you got to obey the rules, you got to play by the rule book, you got to listen to your teachers who are also kids. Right? And if you don't play well, if you disturb others, if you take other kids' toys, then you get detention for a long time. They send you to the dungeons. If you be a good kid, they send you to the recreation room for some time. You can be there for a while. And then when you leave that place, you can come back to Toys R Us. Kid. Is it not time to grow up? I mean, yeah, I really am not kidding, right, folks? Just one day when you get some time, right, take a piece of paper and write down all the toys that you have at home. In your playpen. My apologies. All the toys you have in your playpen. Write down a list of all of them. Now you can start with your Ferrari. Yes. Yeah, you can start with your favorite toy. Yes, that's fine. No, you can write as many as you like. Yeah, you can keep all of them. Don't worry, I'm not going to take them away from you. Stop crying, kid. You know I'm mocking you, right? Does this hurt? Good. That's why I'm asking you, when do you want to grow up? That's why they're called the elders. Who? The great arahants. They're called the elders because they grew up. They're not kids anymore. Theravada. What does that mean? The doctrine of the elders. Thera is an elder. So grow up. Stop being a kid. You must see how much similarity there is between you and your children. I mean, your children play with dolls, you play with your children. What's the difference? So they both got toys, haven't they? You've got toys, they've got toys. The only difference is your toys have life in them and your kids' toys have make-believe life in them. Have you not seen them walking them around? I've seen some parents who push their children around in a trolley, or like a baby cart, and the baby's got another cart. In it, she's got a Barbie doll. Excuse me. So who hasn't got a toy here? You know who hasn't got a toy? The Barbie doll hasn't got a toy. Because the doll is the only thing that's not pushing anything else around. You're pushing, your child's pushing. So that makes both of you kids, pushing toys around. When you're planning on growing up, when you're planning on becoming an elder, a thera. What do they teach you at school? How to play with toys, is it not? What's math after all? Math. It's how to count all your toys. So you can share your toys with each other and make sure that they give you back the same number that they took from you. Right? That's what they teach you math for at school. Why do they teach you chemistry? So you don't hurt yourself with the toys when you play with them. Same goes for physics. To teach you that when you throw the toy up, it's going to come crashing down on your head. They teach you how to play with your toys. Why do they teach you geography? It's to teach you where you can find lots of toys in which countries, right? And where the best toys are, and where people take their toys and keep them. That's how you go from one toy shop to another toy shop. Grow up already. How old are you? You're 55 and you're still playing with your toys, aren't you? When you were 7, okay, right? Okay, fine. When you were 17, okay. When you were 27, come on. Now you're 77 and you're still playing with your toys. What, you want to get a lifetime membership of Toys R Us? Well, be careful, they might just give you honorary lifetime membership. Yes, I'm mocking you. I'm not really mocking you, I'm mocking the ignorance and attachment within you. Just look, folks, at what you're doing. Just take a step back. Don't just go run of the mill every day, wake up, play with your toys, wash your toys, put your toys to bed, and then you eat and then again go back to sleep so you can wake up next morning and start playing with your toys again. You're human, remember? Did you forget that? I'm asking you, just think about what you learned at school. They taught you history, did you not? What did you learn in history? How kids back in the day played with their toys. Is it not? That's what they taught you at history. How kids back in the day played with their toys. So you can continue the heritage. You can carry on the legacy and continue to play with your toys so that future generations will talk about how you played with your toys. Yay. When are you going to become an elder? I'm asking you, when are you going to become an elder? When are you going to become someone the Buddha can call, you from now on are my child? Because then you leave Toys R Us. You leave this playground. One day I'll read out to you some of the epiphanies of the Arahants as they achieve their Arahanthood, and they express the joy of having become an elder, of having realized that all this time they were just playing in a playpen. I'll read out a few to you in a future sermon. And then what I have talked to you about will start to make sense. How they speak of the world that they're leaving behind. Not a tiny modicum of remorse. Each of those arahants asked themselves why they couldn't do it sooner. That's what they asked themselves. Why couldn't they do it sooner? What do most people ask us? What's the rush? And the Arahants? Oh, why couldn't we do this sooner? Why couldn't we achieve this realization sooner? But alas, I'm now free. If only this could have come sooner. If only this joy, this priceless experience of euphoria could have come sooner. But ignoble, immoral people will always ask you, what's the rush? Why such a hurry? I'm mocking ignorance and attachment. Guess who ignorance and attachment are mocking? You think I'm being rude? You think I'm being insensitive? You think I'm being unkind to you? By telling you how things really are? Well, then guess who's taking the mick? Ignorance and attachment. Who are they mocking? Come to your senses, folks. Who are they mocking? I think you have the answer. Stop being a baby. Stop being a kid and grow up. Look at, as I said, take a list, take a sheet of paper and write down all the toys you have at home. Before you begin, write in block capitals, my toys, on the top of the page, right? Underline, put some stars around it, like little kids do anyway. You get those glistening things, those glitter things, just stick a few around them, just to add to the fun of it. And then go around the house, write down all the toys you have. And get the children to do the same. And then at the end of that, why don't the two of you compare your lists? Right? Your son will come and say, Tati, I've got my bat. You can say, I've got my bed. You can say, I've got my Superman. What will you say? I've got my supercar. What's the difference? And I actually make it a competition. See who's got more toys. That'll be fun. Excuse me. And I bet you'll have more toys than your children do. At the end of this exercise, you'll be able to say, "Hoo, I've got more toys than you." Oh, well done, kid. Oh yeah, then don't forget all those prized possessions. The things you keep in your cupboards, in your wardrobe, right? Those precious things that are locked in like 3 shelves deep. Right? Get them all out and list them. Your wedding necklace, yeah, all of them. They're all toys. Makes you happy, does it not? Well, then it's a toy. That's a simple way. That's a simple test. That's a very simple litmus test. Does this make me happy? No, Swami, no, it doesn't make me happy. I don't care too much about this. Okay, then give it away. Okay, then get it on the list. You got stuck there, didn't you? When I said give it away. Why can't you give it away? Because it makes you? Of course. So put it on the list. My toys, within braces, things that make me happy. You'll have your television, you'll have your carpets, you'll have your phone, you'll have your laptop, you'll have your other laptop, and then the other laptop, and then the tab, and the other 3 tabs, and then you'll have... you want me to continue? Don't forget the wall hangings. Also, don't forget the trophies you collected as a kid. I mean, not that you're any different now, but when you were a kid, all those cups that you got for running around the village, you still keep that, don't you? Your first 100 meters race, where you got that complimentary prize just because they couldn't watch you cry on stage, so they give you a complimentary prize. That's still on the shelf, isn't it? That little cup, yeah, put that also on the list. Otherwise, give it away. Sentimental, indeed, yeah. That's a toy. By the way, when are you going toy shopping again? When are you going toy shopping again? If you've got enough clothes to cover yourself up and to keep you safe and protected from the elements, safe from mosquito bites, insect bites, various things like that, and to cover up those places that shouldn't be exposed, right? If you've got enough clothes for that, then everything else is a toy. When are you going toy shopping again? The only difference is, when you were younger, you had to pester your parents. Please, Ami, please buy me that. Ami, please buy me that. Ami, please buy me that. Right? And then you pulled a long face, and then you got on the floor and rolled on the floor. Right? The only difference is you do that now in front of the bank manager when you ask for the loan. That's the only difference. Oh, please, Mr. Bank Manager, please. And then you pull a long face. Some people will go as far as rolling on the floor. Why? Because they had the play money that needed to be given to the shopkeeper to buy the toys. I assure you, I am not mocking you. I don't need to be mocking you because there's a good pair that's mocking you. The wicked pair. Who are we talking about? The wicked pair? The invincible pair? I'm almost personifying. Yes, I am indeed. This pair, this duo, the invincible duo. Ignorance and attachment. They are mocking you. I'm not mocking you, I swear to you folks. I'm mocking what ignorance and attachment is doing through you. That's why I'm urging you to become an elder. Do you see how you become a kid in front of a slice of lemon cheesecake? Have you seen yourself in front of a slice of lemon cheesecake? Next time you sit down to eat a slice of lemon cheesecake, set up a camera, right? And then walk up to the fridge, get that piece, get it on a saucer, and then you come and sit down, and then now turn the camera towards you, or sit in front of the camera and now start eating it, and then watch the tape. Make sure when you watch it you have a handkerchief with you, so you can wipe the tears. Why? Because when you were eating it, it was mouth-watering. When you're watching it, it's eye-watering. It is. Why? Because you're playing with toys. You haven't grown up yet. You're just a kid. When was the last time you sat down with a box of chocolates? Age is no gap there, is it? That's no hindrance. That's no obstacle. Have you seen yourself with a box of chocolates? You think you'd be proud to watch you with a box of chocolates in your hand? Do you know how childish that looks? I don't need to say anything about you with your glass of alcohol in hand. I don't need to talk about that, do I? Because if you do that, so set the camera so it's facing the floor. Otherwise you'll only be able to see the footage from the first part of the evening. To catch what happened the second part of the evening, the camera has to be turned to the floor. I'm not mocking you. Believe you me, I'm not mocking you. But I have a real bone to pick with ignorance and attachment. The things that they do through you, they're abusing you. I don't like that. I don't like that. The truth is, folks, there is nothing in this world that you like. That is the honest truth. There is nothing in this world that you like. What you like is what you think they're like. I'll say that again. There's nothing in this world that you like. What you like is what you think they're like. You think they're pleasurable, that's what you like. You think they're joyful, that's what you like. You think they're essential, that's what you like. Remove joyful, pleasurable, and essential. Now do you like it? Clearly not. Well, then you don't like it, do you? So then there's nothing in this world that you like. What you like is what you think they're like. But see what ignorance and attachment can do to you. They'll make you think that they're like, or that they're pleasurable, that they're joyful, that they're essential, and now that's what you like. But to achieve it, to experience that, what you're thinking, you will reach out and grab the object. That's when you fall into the trap. Is that not the case? Everything that you hoped would please has brought you pain and unease. Is that not so? Everything that you hoped would please has brought you pain and unease. It is that hope that kept you going for it, to fulfill the unfulfillable, to satiate the unsatiable, to complete the incompletable. Why, oh why? Have you allowed so much suffering to come to you? Don't allow, don't permit ignorance and attachment to continue to play its dirty tricks on you, folks. Be watchful, be vigilant. With this knowledge, you are able to do so now. Because what I'm doing is tearing apart this veil of ignorance that lay in front of you. Throughout your lives, you've been looking at nothing but a hallucination, a mental hallucination. That's what you've been staring at. Look what happened to you. You didn't even stop to realize you were growing old, did you? No, because you were far too busy experiencing the hallucination. Do you not sometimes stop back to think and ask yourself, how come I grew so old? How come so much time has passed me by? How come so much life has passed me by? What have I actually achieved in my life? And when you do so, now you start to make up answers just to make you feel better. Oh yeah, but I went to school, and I got my grades, and then I got my degree, right? Surely, that accounts for something. What have you done for yourself? Did you come into this world to get yourself a degree? Is that what you came into this world for? What did they teach you in your degree? How to look after yourself or how to look after others? Honestly, try and answer that question. What did they teach you in your degree? How to look after yourself or how to look after others? What degree did you do? Economics. What's that, about yourself? Or what, everything but you? What's your degree in? Accounting. What, about yourself? Or about everyone else? What else do you have a degree in? Biochemistry? What? So you learned that and then did what to yourself? Well, ever since you got stuck in a research lab, did you not? Doing what? Looking after yourself? Or looking after others? You can carry on, just work through the list. Whatever degree you have, I'm asking you, what did you learn? How to look after yourself or how to look after others? Excuse me. It does not matter what discipline it is. Okay, doctor of medicine, what did you learn? How to look after yourself or how to look after others? Because if it's just yourself, then you just need to learn about the diseases that you're going to contract, right? If you're a man, why did you learn about the diseases a woman would contract? What, just in case you change sex halfway down the road? That's why? You'd already passed childhood and puberty and adolescence by the time you went to medical school. So why did you learn about kids? What, for the next birth? If they took out your appendix when you were only 14 years of age, why did you learn about the appendix at medical school? You don't have one, for heaven's sake. So it can't go wrong. So I'm asking you, did you learn about yourself or did you learn about how to look after others? As a teacher, teaching school, what did you learn? Come on, yes, answer. In your mind, I want you to answer these questions. What did you learn? How to look after yourself or how to look after others? You're a teacher. Your profession now is to teach children in a school. What did you learn at school, at teaching school? You learned how to look after, of course. Well done, you. What does a bank manager learn? How to look after himself or how to look after other people's money? What does a politician learn? How to look after himself or how to look after everybody else? You get my drift? So you're happy now? How many years of your life have you spent learning to look after others? Yeah, I thought you were a bunch of kids. Now I realize you're a bunch of nannies. Nannies look after others, other kids. Oh, but yeah, everyone else is learning how to look after you, right? So, okay, that makes sense. And the world goes on, doesn't it? Haha. That was the sound of ignorance and attachment mocking you. When are you going to become an elder? But Swaminath, if everyone stops going to school, okay, I'm not talking about everyone. I'm talking about you. I told you right at the start of this sermon, you and I are the only two people who are having this conversation right now. So if no one else is having this conversation right now, then why are you so worried if what's going to happen to the rest of the world? Besides, if you're worried about what's going to happen to the rest of the world, then you're always free to press on that X button in that red box on the top right hand side corner of the computer screen. Yeah, that's it. Go ahead. Come on. You won't hear me again. Go on. You still here? Folks, I tell you, we need to take a stock of our lives, right? Because ultimately, did I not remind you last week, when you're on your deathbed, the events of your life will flash by you. At that point they'll decide whether you're going to be put in the dungeons or whether you're going to be sent to the recreation room. Either way, it's going to be for a while. If it's the dungeons, it's usually longer than in the recreation room. Normally when they go to the dungeons, they don't get let out on parole. You got to be there until you've served your term. That's normally how it works. And those who have looked after themselves, they'll be let loose. They'll be allowed to go. Free to roam. Right, off you go. You've graduated. You're now an elder. They get to leave Babalante. Take a sheet of paper, walk around your house, make a list of the things. What things? Your toys. Do they still make you happy? In which case, that's the laughter that's coming out of a tickle. As you're turning your wedding album, now you take the wedding album, turn the pages, and you're pointing at the pictures, the things, the funny things you did. This guy did this, that guy did this, right? You and I, we did this, right? As you're going through those pages, those are the laughters of the tickles. What you don't realize is you're in a big pickle. Your entire life is a pickle, and you're laughing as you're being tickled. So what? Throw the album out? No. We mustn't hurt the environment. So don't do that. Don't throw your litter outside. Keep the wedding album. Just contemplate on the Dhamma. Anything at home you cannot give up at a moment's notice. That's a tickle. That's ignorance and attachment's tickle. All the things that you see around you that bring a smile to your face, anything that cannot be taken from you without leaving a grimace, that's a tickle. I urge you folks, become an elder, come on. Stop being a kid. You don't need to throw away the things you have at home, keep them. But you need to grow up. You need to become an adult. If you have to throw them out, then again that's another tickle. Ignorance and attachment, they're the joker. Don't get caught. They'll play tricks on you. Remember guilt, the guilt trick? We talked about that several weeks. They're all tricks. Don't fall for any of them. You need to achieve your salvation. Don't settle for anything less than unconditional happiness. Don't settle for tickles. When was the last time you tickled or got tickled? Well, let's say, when was the last time you got tickled? Hopefully that was as a kid. Now, your wife doesn't come and tickle you now, does she? Right, so as you grow up, people don't tickle you anymore because you're serious now. So I'm saying, do the same with ignorance and attachment. Become an elder, because ignorance and attachment, they don't come and tickle you when you're an elder. They don't come anywhere near you. And as I said, take a lesson out of ignorance and attachment's page. Learn their art of war. Learn from them about determination. There are days when you feel deflated, but we are yet to come upon a day when ignorance and attachment let go. There are actually two things or two entities, and if I'm to personify ignorance and attachment, there are two people in this world that can see each chitta. One is the awakened one, the supremely enlightened Buddha. Through his supernatural powers, he's able to see each chitta as it arises and passes away. The other guy is ignorance and attachment. How do we know that? He doesn't let any chitta go by without attaching and clinging on to it. That's how resolved, that's how determined ignorance and attachment are. Take a lesson from their page. Have they ever given up? Why do you then? When your enemy is not giving up, how come you can? Let down your arms. No, we're not going to sign the memorandum of understanding. There's no understanding between you and ignorance and attachment. There's no room for that. Either they win or you win. We both can't win this game. There's only one winner, one loser. We don't want any middle ground with ignorance and attachment. You can't reason with them. You can't negotiate with them. You can't come to terms with them, because they're so vile, they're so wicked. They won't stop at anything. Every chitta, they will come and haunt you. It's not every 10 chittas, it's every chitta, remember. You sleep, do they? See how fierce they are. They remain ever watchful. If you want to learn sati, being aware, being mindful, learn it from ignorance and attachment. They're always mindful. They'll not let a single chitta go by without causing havoc. If you want to learn virya, effort, how to be heedful, how to be diligent, how to be earnest, learn from ignorance and attachment. Learn from your enemy. There's nothing wrong with that. Don't side with your enemy. Learn from your enemy. Because you're not fighting an easy enemy here. This is the worst enemy, the worst type of enemy. Their war tactics are impeccable. They even tickle you, make you feel like that they're your friend. See their dirty tactics? Mafia tactics? Guerrilla tactics? Once they've latched on, they won't let go. That's why you have to remain constantly vigilant, aware, mindful, watchful. So I urge you folks, take a moment, seriously do. Take a moment to observe, right? Over the last few weeks we've been talking about some heavy stuff. So I just wanted to take a moment to remind you, right? It's all good and nice and well to study the Dhamma and go into the depths of it. Right? That's all nice and well. How much of it are you really applying? Application will bring you results. Knowledge will bring you nothing. Your knowledge is simply a means to an end. You will suffer just as much the day you pass away, no matter how much knowledge you've gained. But if you've applied the Dhamma, the little that you may know, that will make a difference to your life. That's why it's important. Take a moment to observe. Look at what's going on around you. As you're watching TV, reading the newspaper, right? It doesn't matter if you're reading a novel, so be it. Look at what's going on around. Look at the various gimmicks of ignorance and attachment. Then you'll be able to see how much people in this world are suffering, and those fake smiles will start to become obvious to you. So open your eyes, right? Get your feet back on the ground. Make this real. Even if you didn't understand the things that we talked about in the last couple of weeks, last 2 or 3 weeks, what I've asked you to do today, that cannot be difficult. That cannot be impossible. That's possible for everyone. So I want you to all to take a week, in the next week, take some time to do this. As I said, take a sheet of paper, walk around the house, write in block capitals, my toys, and see how many things you can get on that list. Once you've done that list, sit down, right, and go through it again. And then ask yourself, really? You will be amazed at how many things you thought you were free from, and yet how many things your mind, through ignorance and attachment, has lingered in, has clung on to. Okay, so that's your homework for this week. Do it. You must. If you want to achieve results, you must. I'm only telling you to do things that I do. I don't tell you to do things I don't do or the things I used to do. Whatever. Either I did them in the past or I'm doing it now. If I've stopped doing it, perhaps it's because I don't need to do it anymore. If you have not done it, you must do it. That is the path to becoming an elder. That is what you need to do to become an elder. Otherwise, you came into this world a kid, you lived a kid, you'll die a kid. So don't kid yourself. Take it seriously. Learn a lesson or two from the book of ignorance and attachment and their dirty fighting tactics, their war tactics, and start applying them too. You'll be amazed at the results. Okay, let us take a moment then to transfer the merits that we have acquired today, and we'll bring the sermon to a close. Okay. Let us all take a moment then to transfer the merits we have all acquired by making offerings To the infinite virtues of the Noble Triple Gem, chanting Pirit, listening to the Dhamma and engaging in various meritorious deeds today. First and foremost, let us remind ourselves of how incredibly fortunate we are to be in receipt of the Lord Buddha's teaching. With immense gratitude, let us transfer these merits to the bhikkhus, bhikkhunis, upasakas and upasikas, who since time immemorial have protected and preserved the sublime teachings of the Buddha and passed it down through the generations of the noble lineage in the form of the Tripitaka, which is thankfully available to us today to study, understand and comprehend the Dhamma. Let us also transfer the merits we have acquired to all members of the Mahasangha present throughout the world, including the chief prelates of all the chapters who have dedicated their lives to the noble path and have committed themselves towards the betterment of all sentient beings. Let us not forget that among them are the monks and nuns resident in your local temples and nunneries, who have always been by your side through thick and thin, come rain or shine. Let us also transfer these merits to Guru Swami Mahansa and all other monks residents at the monastery, as well as the Anagarikas and Anagarikas attached to the monastery. Let us take a moment to transfer these merits and express our gratitude to those who make great efforts to disseminate the teachings of the Lord Buddha, be that by transliterating these sermons, sharing them out with others, or inviting them to join them and to listen to the Dhamma. May through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born today in the woeful plains, redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane. May through the power of these merits they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also transfer the merits we have acquired to our devotees, the friends of the monastery, who for the sake of merits continue to sustain the Mahasangha. This includes everyone from those of you who have contributed to the construction of the monastery, to those of you who provide the Mahasangha with shelter, arms, robes and medicines, as well as those of you who have passed on their know-how and extend their well wishes. May through the power of these merits they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path and attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to our mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nephews, nieces, our elders, friends and acquaintances, employers and employees, and to all those who have helped us, supported us, assisted us in any way, shape or form they could. By the power of these merits may they be healed of any physical and mental ailments and overcome any obstacles to their spiritual progress. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to the Devas, Brahmas, spirits and demons, primarily the Sakadeva, as well as the numerous gods and deities who are committed to protect and fulfill the Sambuddha Shasana. Let us also transfer merits to our guardian deities who keep a watchful eye over us and keep us out of harm's way, and may through the power of these merits they prosper in divine power. May they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Let us also take a moment to transfer merits to our ancestors who have predeceased us, and to all who have been our families, friends and acquaintances in this infinitely long journey we have come through in samsara. Those who have helped us, supported us, assisted us in any way, shape or form they could, let us transfer these merits to them. Let us also transfer merits to the members of the armed forces as well as the police force who have sacrificed their lives to protect the peace and harmony of our nation. May all who have lost their lives in the war, be their friend or foe, rejoice in the merits we have acquired today. Let us also transfer merits to all those who have lost their lives in the natural calamities such as the tsunamis, earthquakes, landslides, as well as the pandemics, reminding ourselves that among them will be those who have been friends and family to us in this long journey in samsara. Let us take a moment to transfer merits to them. May through the power of these merits, if any of them have been born in woeful plains, redeem themselves and be born in the blissful plane, and may through the power of these merits they abstain from the unmeritorious deeds, fulfill the meritorious deeds, fulfill the noble eightfold path, and may they all attain the supreme bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, let us all resolve that may through the power of the merits that we have all acquired today, and the blessings of all the merits we have acquired today, we be able to witness the advent of many hundreds of thousands of Arahatun Mahanses on this blessed land and in our very lives itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And finally, may through the power of all the merits we have acquired today, you and I, and everyone who has helped make this program a success, who has helped make this all come together, become an Arahatun Mahanse, an Arahat Mehenin Mahanse in this very life and in the era of the Gautama Supreme Buddha itself. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. May the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem always be with you. We will now conclude the sermon. May the Noble Triple Gem be with you all.